if we are going to have a mega betting preview, then you know that we've got to at least get a little bit of help. Mackenzie Brooks in the house from Atlanta. You
Yes.
landed?
Boots on ground in Buckhead. Headed over to the stadium soon.
Okay. Frigid? Oh, do we have furs?
Yeah, we got. Look at this. Look at this good piece.
Oh, okay. So we're going to channel
I
Mob
have
Wife
that
again?
same scarf.
Yeah, I'm in Buckhead. I have to dial it in here.
Let's go.
So Buckhead is Mob Wife? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at the Big Ten championship game, it was Jordan and Mackenzie were both furred out in Indianapolis. So
that was like our game. We had to show out. I'm a little more chill for my outfit tonight.
I think it's colder here than it was that weekend.
Oh, 100%.
It was
this
like
is
11.
like insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and TikTok's back, so we're good. Kansas can be set to survive.
Thank God, guys.
All right,
those were, I will say, the most productive 12 hours of my entire life, probably.
Red books. Yeah, Tom's got a little 4 degrees in there. Oh,
But it's sunny.
It's sunny. It's pretty. It's just terrifying outside.
It's just so cold. All right, let's start. Mackenzie, let's start with sort of the basic stuff. Then we'll break it on down into the more exotics all the way down. Now, we didn't get a chance to hear from you in the Locks pod. What's your general sort of like surface level reads on this game, and how are you attacking it from the betting perspective?
As far as surface level reads, like I think about Ohio State versus Texas, and I feel like I was on here maybe earlier this week. I'm getting all my days mixed up, but I mean, I would think Notre Dame can keep it closer than Texas did because of the reasons Texas lost being reasons that Notre Dame doesn't necessarily have as much. Like you have Quinn Ewers, who just isn't exactly a mobile, athletic quarterback. Riley Leonard is willing to move a little bit more. You know, they have better red zone conversion rate, I'd say, than Texas, and they're not as prone as turning the ball over. And those are all the things that, you know, gave Ohio State that game versus Texas. So I would think they can cover. I'm hesitant because as somebody going to the game, like I want it to be close and fun, obviously, but the version of Notre Dame staying in this game is so slow and methodical. It's like, I don't know if I want to watch that either. As far as a bet, I think the first half under instead of Notre Dame first half spread would be the play, because I think if it is an Ohio State first half blowout, it'd be like 21-0 and you're still hitting that under. Or if Notre Dame does keep it close, it's because you're hitting that first half under too. So I think I've been like debating both all week because the first half unders are hitting at such a high rate in the playoffs. I'm almost scared, like, can it actually keep up? But I feel like both storylines get you to the under here in the first half.
I like that a lot. Obviously, I mean, I've been on the first half under train. Would you jump in would you do the full treasure map of first half under, then wait for the live and then go second half live over?
Yeah, that's what I did at the Orange Bowl, boots on ground as well. First half under, live bet, second half over. Maybe we also treasure map in Ohio State third quarter spread. Are you playing that this week, Chip?
Yeah, 100%. Dance at the date that brought you. I mean,
Chip, are you feeding your children today?
No, and I am playing it spread. There was a big debate on whether I got into the three-way markets, but the three-way markets are left to 1-800-GAMBLR or whatever the number is.
I have a quick, this is again, like almost a question that just feels like you should be betting it. Chris Mitchell for Notre Dame. From my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like outside of like Bo Collins, quote unquote, leads them in touchdowns with 3. And then like everybody else is on the same playing field. So the fact that anybody would have a rationally higher odds to score a touchdown than the next guy feels a little bizarre to me. And Chris Mitchell opened at 19-1. And I was like, everybody should be plus 800 to plus 900. And then he went down to plus 850, which checked out. Now he's back to 24-1. And I'm like, what's going on there? Like, is that...
I mean, he hasn't caught a touchdown since October 26th.
I know, but like he plays 30 to 35 snaps a game, and like he's going to have to be up there. And if you're going to keep up with this team,
especially
if you're playing
if Collins
behind,
doesn't go.
Exactly.
Like if Collins is like real limited, then that makes a lot of sense. Kids, I want to run this by you. You can actually flip Mitchell in here for this if you want, but I got a little 400-1 shot. Like just kind of, I've already bet most of the props I want to bet, but this is something just kind of little pizza money. Eli Raritan, first touchdown scorer of the game. Notre Dame offensive drive, first drive result, touchdown. Notre Dame plus 2.5 first quarter. It's plus 400. Or sorry, 400-1.
Yeah.
Wow. Notre Dame first drive of the game, touchdown.
Touchdown. You could actually flip Mitchell in there too. pretty similar.
Yeah,
I
you
won't pay
could.
400 to 1, but like, and
Listen,
then
I mean, they eat
so
the
FanDuel
clock.
will let
Like,
you FanDuel will let you go first quarter spread on that kind of stuff, but they don't let you do like first half money line. So you kind of got to play around with what the logic will allow you to do, and then operate from there.
Would you do? Is your Eli touchdown anytime?
No, it was first because I feel like
First.
it correlates well with the first drive.
So you're saying Notre Dame is going to
So you're saying Notre Dame has a chance? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I mean, I bet Ohio State for the game. I'm trying to think like, okay, what's the stuff? Like, there's still some meat left on the bone potentially.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an early sweat. That's either dead on arrival or it's there. DK, you got your eyes on anything particular as we're getting a little bit closer to kickoff?
I told you guys the other day, I do like Riley Leonard under his rushing yardage. It's 36.5. It's kind of stayed there. Again, I think he might get sacked a couple times. That would help that. Touchdown scores, some of those for anytime touchdowns going down to try to find some value. I think Jeremiah Love or Riley Leonard plus 150 or plus 145. I just think the rushing touchdowns for them come into play in the red zone. We know what they want to do. I would take either one of those guys.
I will say I just looked it up, Ken's. Chris Mitchell has 5 red zone targets all year long. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of like a Bo Collins.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking for a long shot touchdown, I would go with G. Scott at plus 550
for anytime or first.
Anytime, yeah. For first, yeah. He's at what 2,500 for first touchdown score. Not terrible.
You've been G. Scott because what happened was. You're so concerned about Ibuka and Smith that Texas just left the middle of the field wide open. And then G. Scott was able to get in there and feast. What about kicker props?
Ooh.
Not again. Chip, don't trigger me from yesterday.
No, listen, I'm telling you, Mitch Jeter over 5.5 kicking points.
Right?
Don't laugh. Goals. We were on Zane Gonzalez last night over 6.5 points.
Listen, this can happen.
2 nights ago.
Yeah. Listen, I would go Jaden Fielding, Ohio State kicker at FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can make every moment more. His kicking points is at 6.5. I'd take that under. Okay. Ohio State has had some kicking woes, and they're also do a pretty good job of scoring touchdowns. Now, Ohio State's defense is excellent at forcing field goal attempts and red zone stops. Mitch Jeter has had the clutch gene. And so I think that Mitch Jeter over 5.5 kicking points would be the way that I would play that one. And for Jaden Fielding, I would go under 6.5 kicking points if you wanted to do a little kicking point parlay for tonight.
I thought we were here to talk football bets, not kickers.
Listen,
how about, I have a question. How about, I know how I feel about it. How do you feel about Will Howard interception? Has that been discussed?
I mean, if you look at their biggest games, his interception rate is much higher in those games than they are
outside of Oregon. Like he's going to throw an interception. It seems is the deal here.
So yeah, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I priced that at FanDuel Sportsbook. Yeah, it's moving. If you want it, jump on it now. That was minus 130 at FanDuel Sportsbook yesterday. Minus 136 as we sit here live on YouTube.com/cover3.
That's a little heavy to me.
Little heavy.
That might have to be in a little 3-legger for me.
Yeah.
Just a clean little 3-legger. Riley Leonard passing yards over. Who would dance with it? Toughest games that Riley Leonard has played, the most competitive games against the best teams, have led to a 22% increase in pass attempts. The volume goes up. He's going to have to throw it. And if you want to game script this out where Ohio State is able to establish an early lead, then you're going to have to be in there chasing it. And you don't necessarily even need the touchdowns. Maybe Ohio State's going to sit back and let them just dink and dunk 8 yards at a time. Well, man, 8-9 yards at a time, you can get yourself to 180 yards after a little bit. So if you want to game that, that is one that I did not have on Thursday. That as I was stewing over it, cooking in the lab over the weekend, Riley Leonard passing yards over right now at FanDuel Sportsbook 178.5.
Is that going down? Maybe we wait that one out.
See if people keep hammering the under and then jump on it late.
I feel like that's got to be like a public bet. Is Riley Leonard
passing yards under? Yeah. Don't wait too long. You never know which way the market's going to move on that one.
I'm going to be cooking up a little prize picks parlay here in the great state of Georgia, I think is what my what my option is here.
I mean, yeah, unless this, especially here in this extremely public platform, I would not admit to any other behavior other than what's very legal there.
Good call, Chip.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So, Tom, Danny, Bud, any other last minute props or last minute thoughts?
I still like the under for the game. As far as the spread, I would rather bet in Ohio State alt line than the actual spread. Whether I think Notre Dame or Ohio State are going to cover, regardless, I just think that if there's going to be a blowout tonight, it'll be Ohio State doing it, not the other way around. So if you're betting the spread at all, that's the way I would lean, like Ohio State by 2 touchdowns or more.
DK?
I like that too, because you're hedging happiness, as Skens likes to say a lot of times. I want to see a good game. So if it's sideways, at least you'll win some money if it does go that direction.
Oh, the thrill of watching Jack Sawyer return that fumble last week for me was just outstanding, because that clipped so many ladder rungs for me as he hit that.
We bet the under at the Big Ten championship that we watched in person. That was like literally the worst decision I've ever made in my life. Like rooting for an under in person. I was like, do I hate myself? And it didn't even hit.
It's about discipline.
With Tom, I'm on the under too. I do think you have 2 ways to win, and one of them's with the good game. But I do think if it does get sideways, I don't think it's going to be like such a massive blowout where Ohio State's like covering the number by themselves. Could be wrong. I just feel like Notre Dame's defense will be better at that. And I think they're going to try to slow the pace down the majority of the game. So you might have that Ohio State big win by 3 touchdowns, but I still think you'd be all right on the under.
So
Chip, your Ohio State first half, Riley Leonard over passing yards is plus 280.
Ohio State first half. Wait, what?
Riley Leonard passing yards over is plus 280.
What a bizarre 2-leg parlay.
No, think about it.
Yeah.
Take Ohio State in the first half and Riley Leonard full. Oh, it's a treasure. Thank you, matey. This is what I need to find me booty.
Chip was just very confused because he wasn't expecting Bud to come up with a stupid treasure map parlay that has almost no chance of winning. He's like, that's my department.
Hey,
do we have first half alts? Because actually, if we had first half alts, that'd be interesting. Because there's actually, if they're up huge, there's like a real strong correlation there.
So I
guess they could be up huge because they knocked Leonard out of the game.
In the college football playoff era, there is an example of
about that, Bud.
There is an example of an underdog of 5 or more points coming in and absolutely spanking the opponent. Does anyone know which one it was?
Wait, college football playoff or
in the college football playoff era, there is a national championship game where an underdog of
Clemson, Bama.
5 points or more came in
San Francisco or Santa Clara.
Yep.
Right.
Notre Dame, because I've talked about this game so much that I now am entertaining all possibilities. Like that's how deep in this I am. Like I finally, the last straw I needed was how does Notre Dame win big? And it is that Ohio State does what Alabama did in 2018. Because for those who don't remember, that 2018 Alabama team was 14-0 and had mashed absolutely everybody. And they walked into Santa Clara and they pooped their pants. And they had pooped their pants so bad that Nick Saban tried a desperation fake field goal that was absolutely stuffed out. And everything went sideways. Final score, Clemson, the 6.5-point underdog, 44. Alabama 16. So if there is a Notre Dame runaway win, it would be filed along there with that Clemson Bama game with I understand that on paper one team was way better, but they just did not show up. That would be a Buckeyes lose it type game, I think. I
could be into that. Be fun to watch.
So McElroy told I think it was McElroy who said this. He was talking to, was it Tua in that game?
Yeah, Tua is, yes.
And Tua and the Bama staff said Venables ran a couple coverage concepts out of looks that game that they had literally not shown at all that year, which is interesting. When we talk about 16-game season, what do you hold back? You hold back players from a health and usage standpoint, but you also hold back some plays. Ohio State deciding they're all of a sudden going to be a gap run scheme as opposed to running zone. Surprise, Tennessee. Cool. That's one. But if you watch the Jim Knowles press conference when he talks about the goal line stand,
the one where he goes boom, boom, that one.
Well, No, so he's kind of going play by play. So he talks about downs hitting the pitch, and then it's the third down play he discusses, which is the incompletion in the corner of the end zone. He's like, yeah, we haven't run this coverage all year. Just, kind of, I was like, look at that. So yeah, it's something they held back in that game. Little trap stuff. So,
well, and it's so funny because Al Golden is already laying it. He was asked about at the media day. He said, okay, like you guys are a heavy man-to-man team. This is kind of, what y'all do. He gives this long spiel. He's like, look, we're not going to change who we are. This is like what's gotten us here, but I would 100% entertain the idea that he's lying and that they've got like a bunch of extra little wrinkles and ways that they can try to, coax Will Howard into being a little flustered and throwing an interception and sort of flipping this game, because Notre Dame is 137 points off turnovers in 15 games this season.
Because they mix it up.
Second place is Tulane with 107 points off turnovers in 14 games. I mean, this is just, it's what they do. So I could see there if when you're, again, you can see Ohio State winning big, Ohio State winning small, Notre Dame winning small. My Notre Dame wins big thought is that it probably starts with Al Golden. It probably starts with that defense and trying to create some frustrations for the Ohio State quarterback.
When it comes to coverages, because I do feel like it gets kind of lost in just the talk about this game as we've been going over it for 10 days. Like you talk about Notre Dame's heavy man coverage, and they are, but they still only play it 57% of the time. Right. 43% of the time they're in a zone. It's like, what are the Sharps, Chip? What are they?
They are wrong 40% of the time, and that is a Steph Curry 3-point attempt. Are you comfortable with the Steph Curry 3-point attempt? Then don't feel bad stepping in front of the Sharps.
Exactly. And Notre Dame is in zone 40% of the time. So it's not like they don't know how to do it, or if they suddenly do it 49% or 50% of the time, it's some wild breakaway from their typical game plan.
All right. Okay, Danny, Mackenzie, y'all enjoy the game in Atlanta. Y'all be well.